Hello everyone, Mark is here, 937-789-4029, very nice day out. Question, has Watchtower or the Jehovah's Witnesses set black people back further than any other religion? Let me explain this. Slavery. We feel we have come a long way from slavery. Is that not right? Practices that were used during slavery, we don't feel like we involve ourselves with anything like that anymore. However, the problem that we have as black people, especially here in America, is different aspects of slavery continued in religion, masked in religion. No one is going to say, hey, that's wrong, because it's in religion. We're not allowed to critique religion. So it lasted a lot longer in religion. Is that not right? So then, the Jehovah's Witnesses, what are some practices that are in that religion that I say has held black people back? One of those practices, we all know about the shunning. During slavery, people were property. People were sold. When a person was sold to someone else, that was someone's father, that was someone's brother, that was a family member. A family was just broken up. People had to work where they were told to work, do what they were told to do. They couldn't keep their families together. Families were split up, broken up. Families were destroyed. Men were taken out of families. What do you have going on here today? This is something that continued on. Slavery is abolished, right? Well, the problem is that the destruction of the black family continued in Watchtower. Watchtower is known for shunning. To the present day, 2017, it is known for influencing a parent to turn on their kids, kids to turn on their parents, brothers and sisters to turn against one another, to the extent that they disown one another, essentially. People haven't spoken in 20 years. Now, this sounds insane to a person outside of this religion. Well, what can someone do to cause a relative not to so much as speak to them in 20 years plus? Half the time, the person involved in the shunning can't even remember what the person did that caused them to be expelled, but they're still not talking to their relative. Well, that's a problem in any family, but definitely in the black family, where we're still trying to rebuild from the things that has happened over hundreds and hundreds of years throughout history. We're trying to recuperate from that. How can we recuperate from that if the destruction of the family never stopped? If it never stopped? If you still have families to this day, I would go down here. I'm trying to go down this hill, but I'd probably end up falling, so I'm not going to try that. You have families to this very day where nieces and nephews don't know their aunts and uncles, and grandparents don't talk to their kids and their kids' kids, and parents can't see their own sons and daughters, let alone their sons and daughters' kids. You're talking about something that has spiraled to the point of totally out of control. Jehovah's Witness families in general, black families I'm bringing to the forefront because of what has happened throughout the course of history, and it never stopped. It never stopped. Black people have been trying to rebuild the family unit after the abolition of slavery, and here you have religions that completely annihilate the family. This is not even something that is up for debate. And were black people sold, were families all sold together, or were they sold separately? Separately in cases, probably a lot of cases. So yes, families were completely destroyed, completely broken up. Look at that view there. Have we been set back by Watchtower? Yes, because you have families to this day that are just as desolated, just as destroyed, just as decimated as they were back at that particular time. I don't mean just having fatherless households. That's something that the community is dealing with. People in general are dealing with it, yes, but the black community is dealing with fatherless households. It goes beyond that with Jehovah's Witnesses. It goes to the point of fatherless households, grandmotherless households, grandfatherless households with no parent because the parent don't talk to the kid. It goes beyond the damage that was naturally done just through slavery or through the course of recuperation to this point where we are at this present day. The things that we deal with in general to this present day isn't as bad as what you see going on with Watchtower and family members just completely turning on other family members. So you have black families to this day whose families are destroyed, and this destruction goes back beyond our ability to even recount, because you're going all the way back into slavery. Beyond that, we're not sure exactly what our culture and everything in specific was. So as far as history in America can recall, our families have been destroyed. 2017, because of Jehovah's Witnesses, you have the same level of destruction. Outside of JWs, you just have fatherless households and some families that just don't get along. Outside of that, pretty much the norm. But with Jehovah's Witnesses, we may as well still be in slavery days with family members just being sold off left and right. And then what happens to that person's mentality? The mentality of a mother or father who watches their daughter get sold off. That has a callousing effect. It has a psychological effect. This isn't over because Jehovah's Witnesses are still doing the whole destruction of families, and people are sitting next to family members and they can't talk to them. That has a callousing effect, a psychological effect. Not to mention the effect it has on a person that was sold, or the family member that is being shunned by the whole family. So the psychological damage, the emotional damage is continued. It can't heal if it doesn't stop. To me, it's almost like a person smoking cigarettes, and the doctor says, well, you're going to have to come off cigarettes because you're doing damage to your lungs to the extent that you're going to be on a breathing machine in the future. Okay, well, the person stops smoking and he goes back to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you still have all the same symptoms. I thought smoking was abolished. And you say, well, yeah, but I live in a house where everybody smokes. I'm still around it. It's still around me. I'm still inhaling it. I quit smoking, but the smoke is still being directed to me because everybody in my family smokes. It's still here. It's the same thing. All these effects, all the damage, all the realities of the destruction of the black family. Slavery was abolished, but it's still being done to black people in addition to others, but to black people because, for one, Jehovah's Witnesses, that religion demolishes families beyond repair. I have friends I talk to now that still don't talk to their relatives. I know people that aren't even in the religion. There's people who leave the religion, essentially, maybe they get involved with doing something they weren't supposed to be doing, or maybe they just stopped going because they were discouraged, or maybe they start to wake up a little bit. But even at that point, they're still practicing the shunning. Have you spoken to such and such? Heck no, I don't talk to them. Or if there's an issue in the family, and this is part of the psychological effect, if there is an issue in the family, it's so simple for Jehovah's Witnesses to just cut the person off. Just cut them off. You having issues with the family? Well, for black people, to the present, from slavery up until the present 2017, because of Jehovah's Witnesses, we're used to dropping family members at the drop of a dime. Well, what happens when there's issues in the family? When there's problems, where most families work it out. For Jehovah's Witness, you do what you always have done. Things get hard, you just quit talking. Family just falls apart. Let's talk a little bit about education. Because during the times of slavery, black people weren't supposed to be reading. If you get caught with a book, you can get whipped. You can get beaten. Who knows? You might get killed if you get caught reading books and learning how to read and learning math and all that education. Well, that stopped after slavery, right? Slavery is abolished. Well, now you have black people going to the universities, going to college, going to school, learning. Well, Jehovah's Witnesses, to this very day, I have seen broadcasts where governing body members are still, to this very day, talking about such and such a child left the religion because they went to college. Or I heard someone say that they mentioned in a broadcast that the better the university is, the more danger it is for that particular youth to leave Watchtower. They have spoken down on college. One, they talk about bad association. Two, they talk about the end of the world is right around the corner. So what purpose is there in you sending your kid to a school to learn something that may be obsolete in the new world? You know, that's the whole religious terminology that they have. And then three, they're worried that their kids might get influenced by some professor that's going to educate them, and then they're going to leave the religion. You still to this present day have a religion that dissuades people from higher education. Now, that's still holding us back, even though they're not necessarily against high school. You got to send them to high school. They're not against necessarily middle school, but higher education, which is something that you need to, in many cases, qualify to even apply for certain jobs. I understand people are like, well, there's not a guarantee that you're going to get such and such a job. But if you don't go to college, that's a darn guarantee that you're not going to get it because you don't qualify. It requires a bachelor's. You don't have a bachelor's. Someone that has one may or may not get that job. You who don't have it, chosen in the heck ain't going to get that particular job. So again, it holds people back. Now you have the same families that are destroyed. Couple that with uneducated people, and the way things are going, high school is not going to really be considered educated. You know, someone that says I'm educated, you don't go up to them and say, oh, so you graduated high school. No, you're thinking that they went to some college, some university. So this affects everyone, but black people in particular in America have had such a horrific history with not being allowed to read, not being allowed to stay together as a family. In addition to other things, I'm not going to put everything in one video, but in addition to other things that we've suffered over the course of history, and these things have literally never stopped up until the point of 2017. You still have them in the Jehovah's Witness religion. Jehovah's Witnesses do not like to be wrong. Anyone that was a witness knows that if they have to change something because they were so terribly wrong that it's become painfully evident that they were wrong, they then change it and say, well, it's new light. Why do they call it new light? Because they don't want to just say we were wrong. They will not admit to being wrong. Jehovah's Witnesses will automatically become professional liars if they're dealing with a situation where they were wrong. So, for example, a lot of the doctrinal changes with blood, with regards to 1975, with regards to 1914, all that stuff, well, there was new light. In other words, we won't just say we're wrong about all that. We'll say that there was new light. Here's the thing about school. Because they haven't seen the end of the system come the way they thought it would, and because people are in a bad way oftentimes now without education, instead of just saying, well, we were wrong, to dissuade people from going to college, and still wrong to continue to do so, they'll just literally lie and say, well, we never taught that people shouldn't go to college. We never taught that it was bad association. We never taught that people's spirituality was in danger if they were sent to some university. They will lie rather than just be honest with you and say, yeah, we were wrong about that. You see more and more JWs starting to go to college and sending their kids to college, regardless of what the governing body is saying, because it's so plainly, obviously, a dumb thing to do at this particular point. So you'll have people that will straight up lie about that. They'll lie about Bethel. I'll tell them things about Bethel, and they'll say, well, what's wrong with that? Yeah, there's just imperfect people. Like, there's just nothing wrong. They will lie. What the lie is that Jehovah's Witnesses never taught that Bethel was the house of God, that Bethel was a Bethel family, that Bethel was the heart of the organization and where Jehovah's Spirit was the strongest, and that it was essentially paradise and wonderful. They'll pretend like, well, no, we never said that. We never said that Bethelites might not just get kicked out, 40 years old, been there since 19, we just put them out. We never said. They will lie in a heartbeat with regards to things that they're wrong about. They won't admit to being wrong. So you'll deal with that. Jehovah's Witnesses lying about this never happened and that never happened when it clearly did. The point is, for black people, there's certain religions that are no good at all. You will mess around with these Jehovah's Witnesses because they knocked on your door, and you don't realize this, but down the line, your whole family is going to be destroyed because of that religion. People that aren't even members will start being shunned essentially by people who are trying to stay away from them because they're quote unquote worldly. This religion, name one religion that is worse for black people. I know Christianity has got a bazillion denominations. Name a denomination that's worse for black people that's held us back more than Watchtower. Again, 937-789-4029. That's a cell number, just in case you don't know what number I'm mentioning. Let me know what you think. Ex-Wallkill Bethelite Marcus signing out.